Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. We have more YouTube problems today. I do apologize. I don't know what the issue is, but there is some kind of serious lagginess going on. Sorry, I've turned the TV on. Okay, we are back. Let's see if we can hold the stream together for at least an hour. I'm just keeping an eye on the processing, making sure everything's going fine. We seem to be a little bit laggy, but we are here. It is FOMC day. It is Wednesday, the 7th of May are we on now? Big day, but it's going to be a nothing burger. Nothing is going to happen. As far as the FOMC meeting goes, Chairman Powell's already told us there's no rate cuts. I'm back in YouTube chat now. And we have so far, everybody has agreed that we're going to hold the rates. There's not going to be a rate cut today. Potentially they are pumping the price up to dump it. That is one of the things that appears to be happening. I think we're at 97,000 right now. We're going to go and have a look at that in a minute. What are we going to talk about today then? Well, obviously we are going to talk about Bitcoin. We're going to talk about what Raoul Pal has had to say about the price of Bitcoin. We're going to talk about New Hampshire, what's happened there. We're going to talk about Cron. We're going to talk about Pectra, which is also going live, if not already live today. We're going to talk about Sol. I'm going to have the Bitcoin chart and the Sol chart today. We're going to talk about syrup. Yes, big news about syrup. And if you've been watching us for a while, you will know what syrup is. And then we're going to talk about Sui. We have no memes today. We have no NFT projects to talk about today. We're going to stick to the alpha as best we know it. That was a nice intro today. So, title of the show today is China Cope. And before we get going, I just want to basically talk to you about something which has been happening over the last 3 or 4 weeks. And that is to do with Donald Trump and the strategy he has held for the last 4 weeks about trade and tariffs. The people that you watch on YouTube and listen to on X, they are the people that should be giving you sensible advice. If there is smoke coming out of your kitchen, you do not want people to come into your house and run around screaming, saying that the house is on fire and it's going to burn down. Okay? And I'm not saying I told you so. It's not about me. It's about looking back over the last 3 or 4 weeks to look at the people that have been telling you about tariffs and Trump and China and India and the UK and Europe. And just remember what they were telling you. And there are some people which I'm not going to say anything about on here because that's not what I'm going to try and do. It's not about me and it's not about them in particular. It's about in general. And when you see these kind of black swan events where the markets react really adversely to a situation that they didn't expect, what you should expect from the people that you watch and you listen to and you follow, you should expect better from them. And that is very simply trying to look at it from a level-headed point of view. And I believe the majority of crypto Twitter and crypto YouTube has let you down. That's my belief. And the reason they've let you down is they are doing nothing more than reporting headlines and going along with the narrative and not challenging the narrative and not thinking about why these things happen. And we have tried to steer a sensible ship through all of this. I've told you about The Art of the Deal, the book that Trump wrote 40 years ago. I've shown you the Oprah Winfrey interview where he talked about the fact that tariffs, America's been getting ripped off. That was 30 years ago. And I've tried to explain to you that this is a negotiation. And we've had people in chat as well telling you that this is the end of the global economy. This is the end of the dollar. This is the end. Everything's going to come crashing down. And they have also bought into the narrative that the press wants you to believe. And that in itself is the issue. You have to have dissenting voices in your life, on your streams that you watch, on the crypto Twitter that you watch. Because if you follow the same people, they're going to tell you the same thing. And that is incredibly dangerous for you And that could mean that you follow somebody that completely disagrees with everything I say. That's fine. You then have two differing opinions for you to make your own opinion. And this Trump situation is precisely what I'm talking about. If you have 5 people that you watch on crypto Twitter, and four of them are telling you that Trump is ruining the economy, ruining global trade, and then I'm the one sitting there saying this is going to be a short-term issue where he is shocking the world into renegotiating with Trump, which one transpired to be the truth? Mine, clearly. But that's not what it's about. It's not about me, it's not about my ego. It's about you having different voices. And it's really important. And that's why it's called China Cope. Because all of those people that were telling you that this was going to ruin the American economy and everybody in America was going to have to pay $25 for a loaf of bread and $30 for a bottle of water, they're all going to be proven wrong, because it was never intended to last more than a few months to shock the other countries into towing the line with America. That was the plan. And if you didn't see that plan, because everybody you watch didn't see that plan, that's on them. Okay? That's how I wanted to start the show off today, because it's important. I want you to find people that disagree with me. I want you to find people that disagree with each other. Have different voices, because only then can you see both sides of the story. Otherwise, you're no better than being a left-wing or a right-wing person. You need to find middle ground on everything. Now, we are back at $3 trillion. Bitcoin is back over $97,000. Ethereum is back nearly at $1850. And remember, we're going to get Petra today. So the pecs are out as far as Ethereum is concerned. That's the second time we've used that joke. I'm not going to use it anymore. XRP still under 220. BNB back over 600. Solana still under 150. Green days does not mean we are going to Nirvana or wherever else you want to go. Green days are either a recovery bounce or they are a slow recovery from a previous downward movement. Bitcoin being at $97,000 is great for Bitcoin. We're up 2.4% over the last 7 days. Ethereum has kept up with that, also up 2.5%. But look at XRP, it's down 3.5% over the last 7 days. BNB hasn't kept up. Solana hasn't kept up. Doge, Cardano. The only two leading the way over the last 7 days have been Bitcoin and Ethereum. What does that tell you? Why is Ethereum pumping? Maybe it's pumping on the news of Petra. Maybe it's pumping on the news of the potential for the staking for the ETFs. Bitcoin, we know the reason Bitcoin is pumping. Bitcoin will always pump when there is no severe adverse negative news. BNB is slightly better off because of the ETF application. That's probably why that is up. So it's a mixed bag at the minute. But again, recency bias, recency bias, recency bias. Always keep that in your mind. It means if your football team loses 5-0, 5-0 and 5-0, and then they win 1-0, you might be really happy that they won 1-0, but they've still lost 3 out of the last 4 games. They've still taken 3 points from the last 4 games. But recency bias puts you in a better mood than had you won 5-0, 5-0, 5-0, and then lost 1-0 against your fiercest rivals. So recency bias is important. Litecoin dumped yesterday. It was down 5%. It's now up 13% today. The Litecoin ETF is going to happen. We know. I expect it to be at least $100 very, very soon. In this bull run, though, I don't see it going above $300. And I'm probably going to be wrong on that, but I just don't see it. Stacks is also up. WorldCoin, Trashcoin is still under $1. Quant is up, probably on the news that the EU are going to start using Quant, probably Hedera and XRP. Hyperliquid is up. That's a coin that I don't own any of, but I see a lot of people talking about it. It's at a $7 billion market cap, pretty high. ASI is up, back at 70 cents. That's a nice price for ASI at the minute. Still nowhere near where I think it's going to end up. Excuse me. On the downward side, Virtuals is down. The coin that I'm not going to mention is down. Unusual to see, but a lot of the layer 2s on Ethereum are down as Ethereum is pumping into Petra. maybe the tokenomics and the economics of this upgrade are going to benefit Ethereum more than they're going to benefit the layer 2s. I haven't looked into it in that much depth. Aptos is down, Render is down, very little. I mean, there's only really probably two losers today, which is Virtuals and this coin, which I won't mention. So again, the markets are not looking too bad today. Who is in chat? I better say hello to some people. Kishan is here. Good morning, Kishan. Good morning, KB. Good morning to Danny, Velvet Rope, Hidden. Manjeet is here. If they are up in X, then down. If they say down, it's up. Exactly. Exactly. I think the issue is that you just basically want to avoid too many people giving you conflicting advice. It's like listening to somebody who's psychotic. 1 minute they're up, 1 minute they're down. There's a guy I follow on X, who I'm not going to say the name of. He's got about 650,000 followers. Luckily, he follows me back. But he's psychotic. He's talking about Ethereum going to $500 a few weeks ago. Now he's talking about the fact that he's all in on Ethereum. Make up your mind, because you've got 650,000 people listening to what you're saying. And I think that is something you should have some responsibility on. Now then, a few serious-ish tweets, but this is more of a mentality than anything else. What we want to do is make sure that the next innovators are in dorm rooms and basements, not in boardrooms and law firms. Okay? This is that should be at the foundation of everything that a country does. If you have 18 to 25-year-olds with brilliant ideas, you should find a way to make them happen. Have incubators, have mentors, have people that can sit in their meetings and give advice. Non-executive directors, NEDs, sitting on their boards, advising them in a kind of more, not really a fatherly way, because that ignores the fact that women can do the job as well, but a more fatherly or motherly way, a paternal way of doing it. I totally agree with that attitude, but that attitude has been sadly missing in America for the last 20 years, 15 years. You know, you go back and you think about how Facebook started, how Google started, how Amazon started. Think about that. What's America produced in the last couple of years that can compete or will be able to compete? Really, they've only really got AI maybe and a few crypto firms. So I think America needs to keep its eye on the ball and allow people to grow. Right, Dean, crypto trades. We've got the FOMC, as I said, in Telegram, 96% chance of a rate hold. There's still, I think, a 60% chance of a rate hold in June as well. Now, again, markets are pumping today. Bitcoin is at 97,000. Are we going to see a massive drop? Are we going to come down to 93.8 when Powell speaks today? Is this a pre-dump pump? Are they doing this to dump on you? Or are we going to be pleasantly surprised and we might end the day 97, 98,000 maybe? Tariq will be happy about Litecoin. I hope so. I hope Tariq is happy. For once in Tariq's life, I'd love him to come on here and be super bullish on Litecoin. Manjeet, I hope you are well. The news that's coming out, which hasn't been covered, is that China are going to do a trade deal with America. That's the news. China is very frail as an economy. It's based on exports. If those exports get damaged, China is in trouble. So I'm bullish now that we've got over that bit of shock. But I think today could be a little bit volatile. And as I always say, don't trade on FOMC days, because you could long, Powell could say the wrong word, we could dump, and then Powell could correct himself 5 minutes later and we could pump. We could see $2,000, $3,000, maybe not 3,000. We could see $2,000 candles today to the downside and then back to the upside. We could go 97, 95, 97 in a few hours. And that's why it's dangerous, because if you long, you will be liquidated when the price goes short. And then if you short, alternatively, you think the price is going to keep going down, you short and we go long and there's a short squeeze. So it's they're just days to avoid. Right then, We covered the BNB ETF yesterday. We've got another one today. Bitwise has filed for a NEAR ETF. Again, these things take time. We're very unlikely to see this year. If we do, it's going to be November, December, but it's bullish for NEAR. Okay, I think this is a good ETF to have, because once we can package it together with maybe a render NFT or a FET NFT, or ASI as it's now known, NFT, we could actually end up with like an AI NFT, EFT, and I think that is a great place to be. Now then, just a quick reminder, if you are on Binance, the launch pool has gone live for SXT. So if you stake your BNB, flexible or locked, you will be automatically farming this launch pool reward over on BNB. I used to make videos about these, but I stopped. There was a change in YouTube probably about 6 to 9 months ago, where basically the YouTube views are down. I was watching Ben Cowan a few days ago, and he looked at the social metrics of YouTube, and basically everybody that's got a large YouTube following now built it up in 2021, and very few people have followed YouTubers over the last couple of years. We got a lot of our followers last year, kind of middle of last year, and a little bit towards the end of the year before. We've had nobody. It's a real struggle on YouTube at the minute, because there's nobody here. There's no social metrics, so we don't really cover too many specific videos anymore, because they just don't get the views. And the views that you see out there, by the way, some of them are inflated. Right, Mew, one of our sponsors, has partnered with a top fuel team for the 2025 season. Now, I don't know if it's got the video. It has got the video here. These are those crazy cars that go 100 meters in 3 seconds. Again, we've got the nice Mew livery there. We are going to do a Mew night. It's in Binance at the minute. On the 28th of May is our next Mew giveaway. We had one, a week ago, I think it was. So we've got that at the end of this month. And we've also got an interview with a wolf, which I will show you the thumbnail of very, probably at the end of the show, actually. We'll go through that. And then finally, I got a response. Every once in a while, we contact Eric and a few other people, and we ask them questions about things. This was a response to him talking about the NEAR ETF, and I asked him, when do you think we will reach saturation point with crypto NFTs? Now, the reason I asked that question is there are no laws currently about NFTs. If you think about it, we are getting legislation for stablecoins. We are getting legislation for exchanges. We are getting legislation for what is a crypto asset. Is it a security? Is it a commodity? Tokens, coins, all of these things. Nobody's talking about what NFTs are. Now, if you go out and buy baseball cards in America, you buy them on the premise that they're going to go up in value. Well, according to Gary Gensler, that made them a security. NFTs fall into a very grey area, because some NFTs are season tickets. So maybe your favourite sports team, you'll get a season ticket and that'll be an NFT in the future. Or it will be a sporting event, a ticket to the World Cup final will be an NFT. So the question I asked very quickly was, when do you think we'll reach saturation point with crypto NFTs? Eric replied, I think NFTs could go either way. Ultimately, old heads think it's all BS, but if young people value them, it could be a thing over time. I don't know. Well, at least you have a question and answer from yours truly to Eric Balchunas, who we talk about a lot on the channel on a weekly basis anyway. So I do speak to people out there. I do try and ask questions that might not be asked of them. There's no point in me asking him about ETFs, because that's his job. So I try and ask people different questions. And that the interview with the wolf will be the same thing. Well, we'll tell you about that later. We're going to interview somebody, and the questions aren't going to be the same cookie cutter questions, because there's absolutely no point in me sitting here saying, so where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, can you tell me about your products? Yeah, that's amazing. What a great product. Can you tell me, tell me a little bit about your cats and dogs? Okay. We're not in 1996 anymore. We're going to ask different questions. We're not going to be putting people on the spot, trying to catch them out. We're going to ask them different questions. Company ethos, how you resolve conflict in your teams. How are you building out? What were your, oh no, we're all going to, the company's going to go bust. Where were your oh no moments? Which I can't say what already what's down here. So we're going to have an interview with a wolf. That's going to be on the 21st of May. So keep an eye out for that. Good morning, Bullish Bull. Welcome back. Now, again, I told you about CZ, did I not? $500,000 to $1 million. And I said yesterday, the only person who's allowed to have a realistic, stupid target for Bitcoin, in my eyes, is Michael Saylor, because he has 555,000 bits of skin in the game. And the likes of CZ, Charles Hoskinson, and everybody else I said yesterday need to stay the hell out of it, because as far as I'm concerned, you are giving people false hope. This is a little bit like the X Factor, okay? KB gets up on stage and KB starts belting out I Will Survive by Gloria Rayner. And KB is tone deaf and KB can't sing. But everybody in KB's family tells him he's the greatest singer since Elvis Presley. So KB's there belting away I Will Survive. And the audience tell him he's garbage. And his heart's broken and his world has come to an end. When we don't hit $450,000, when we don't hit $1 million, who is responsible for you not selling at $150,000? Who is responsible for you holding a bag of Bitcoin, having watched it drop from $200,000 to $90,000? Who's responsible? You are, and you always will be. And if you don't know that you can't sing, that's on you. But when other people tell you you can't sing, it's not their fault. And when Raoul Pal and CZ and Charles Hoskinson tell you these targets, two things are about to happen. Number one, they know something that we don't know. Because there's always, a little bit like Poirot, Poirot. Who committed the murder, Poirot? It is always the third person in the room. Okay, somebody we don't believe, somebody we don't know, somebody who hasn't been in the film yet. The U.S. Strategic Reserve, Apple, Google, and Microsoft all buying Bitcoin. Somebody knows something that we don't know for these people to keep giving you these targets, or they're all wrong and they're all ignoring the charts. One of those two things is going to happen. So Raoul Pal, who is a sui maxi now, by the way. Now, the thing about Raoul Pal is he's a little bit like Marmite. You love him or you hate him. And if you don't know what Marmite is, wherever you are in the world, go and buy a jar of Marmite, get a loaf of bread, toast a slice of bread, butter it, and then cover it in Marmite and eat it. Now, they're a little bit like, what does it taste like? What are those sticks called? KB will know the name of these sticks. Twiglets. They taste like Twiglets. Now, you either love them or you hate them. Now, the reason people hate Raoul Pal, number one, he was an ETH maxi. And then you blinked and he was a Solana maxi. And then you blinked again and he became a Sui maxi. And he goes, I believe he goes where the greatest reward is financially for him right now. So I believe he has been paid to be a Sui maxi. That's my opinion. Maybe he became a Sol maxi because he knew Sol was going to have a further run than Ethereum, maybe. But I happen to like him. And I actually don't care whether he's a Sui maxi or a Sol maxi or an ETH maxi. I don't care about that. What I care about is this. He said two things in here which you have to laugh at. Do you know in 2021 people were talking about a super cycle? Do you know in 2017 people also mentioned a super cycle? Okay, a super cycle is one that doesn't end at the time when we think it's going to end. So they call it a super cycle. It's going to go on. It could go on until the end of 2026, 2027. It might go on until the end of Trump's tenure. That's a super cycle. We've got to get involved with that. And we're going to go to $450,000. I just find this type of target for you, not you individually, but you as a community, to be wholly unfair. He believes that Bitcoin can reach $450,000 by the end of this super cycle. Drawing from over 3 decades of research, he outlined his thesis through the lens of what he terms the everything code, a framework that centers on global liquidity, debt cycles, and currency debasement as the core forces. Again, we had debasement and debt 4 years ago and 8 years ago. In fact, it was even worse in 2008, before Bitcoin even came into existence. Bitcoin's year-on-year rate of change is driven by financial conditions with a 3-month lag. The correlation between Bitcoin and global liquidity is 90%, and with the Nasdaq 95%, it's hard to refute that this is not what is happening. Now, everybody and their aunt is telling us we're getting a recession next year, and in a recession, the stock market will go down and gold will go up. So if we are heading for a recession next year, and we do see a 20-15% correction in the stock market, what are we going to see in Bitcoin? If it's already 95% correlated with the Nasdaq, are we not going to see a 25-35%, maybe even a 45% correction in Bitcoin? Although I think that is a little bit unlikely. However, if we do go to 150,000, that would bring us down to 100,000 if it was a 33% correction. So everyone talks about the halving, but this is about the debt refi cycle. Every 4 years, global debt rolls over and the central banks are forced to pump liquidity to avoid systematic collapse. He added that the average maturity of global debt is 4 years, concentrated in 3 to 5 year sector, which narrowly, well, again, we know about this. Let's get to the good bits. Bitcoin has, we don't want to talk about a 27.5 million % return. We don't need that. I think the issue is if you go back to the start of a project like this, or even Amazon, you see that story. If somebody put $10 into Amazon 15 years ago and now it's worth $3 billion, you can't do that. You have to go back over a sensible period of time. How much has Bitcoin grown since it hit $1 trillion? It's grown 40%. That would be the way I would measure it. You can't go back to when Bitcoin had a market cap of $100 million and say we've done a 27.5 million % return since 2012. It's disingenuous. According to his models, should the ISM, Institute for Supply Management Manufacturing Index, reach 57, Bitcoin could be fairly priced at 450,000. Is it exact? No, but all people are saying going to 150 or 250 are probably scarred from the last cycle. No, we're not scarred from the last cycle. My target for Bitcoin was $111 or $112,000. That was my target for Bitcoin, based on diminishing returns, not scarred. I do not have PTSD. I based it on diminishing returns. If you take the cycle tops and you look at how much Bitcoin is growing and you follow the curve, it works out at 1.6 times the previous all-time high, which gives us about $112,000. Now, what is eating away at the back of my mind is the fact that we hit 109,000. That's what is eating away at my mind. And my mind will be relieved the minute we break $112,000. That's when I will be relieved. And I did that 2 years ago. It's not something I did yesterday or the day before. 112,000. It's actually 111,800 or 700, something like that. But that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried that 109,000, which is really close to where I thought we were going to go, is the top. That's what I'm worried about. And I'll only be not worried about that when we go to 112,000, which used to be in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen until the Oracle took my menu off me and gave me a better one. So that's my target. Bitcoin's already priced it down to 47.4 on the business cycle. When will Bitcoin peak then? So he's talking about his banana zone. His banana zone is where we have the blow off top, the exponential growth of Bitcoin. Every cycle looks the same. Breakout, retest, banana zone. We've had the banana 1, the corrective zone, banana 2. What's next is banana 3. He believes the current setup is unusually strong due to a confluence of factors: synchronized global liquidity expansion, a weakening dollar, central banks beginning to ease. Now, again, all of these things do line up. I'm not going to deny that. Rate cuts, the trade wars finishing, the more money coming into the global economies. The DXY is already below 100, although that is going to recover. Maybe 104. I mean, the most important thing, and again, like I said, I like what he has to say a lot of the time. I can't say these things on the stream, but don't mess this up. That's the best bit of advice. You've held for so long, don't mess this up. That is the easiest thing. But again, there's two ways to look at this. Okay. If Bitcoin goes to $100,000 on Friday and you think, I need to buy more Bitcoin, why aren't you buying more Bitcoin today at 97,000? Or better still, when we went to 78,000 and everybody was telling you that the world was caving in and that was our top and it's all over, why were you not buying it at 78,000? People wait for the price to go up to buy. Okay? Don't FOMO in when the price could possibly have, we could hit 100,000 on Friday and you're thinking, right, I need to buy my Bitcoin, and go in, and then suddenly it drops to 95 again. And then you'll kick yourself and think, oh, I've lost out, even though it hopefully will go a lot higher. So he's right in most of what he says, but where I find a problem is the $450,000 target. See, again, he expects the cycle to extend to Q1 or Q2 of 2026. Now, I will concede this, and I did say this a few days ago. There is a chance that we are out. There is a chance that my November the 24th top is out. Why November the 24th? Number one, it's my wife's birthday. And number two, November the 24th, 2021 was the previous all-time high. Now, I just used it as a marker to be before or after that date. But it's only 5 weeks before Q1. So if we roll into Q1, maybe we do. But that's very dangerous thinking, because that's what people said in 2021. So the issue then is that when we hit $69,000 and we were getting towards the end of December, people were saying we're going to have another leg up. We're going to go to 75, 80, 100,000 in 2021. And then people held. And then 3 months later, it was below $50,000. So it's very dangerous to believe this number and these dates. It's very dangerous. And I'd advise you to watch my video that I made about whether the 4-year cycle is dead. I also made a video about dollar cost averaging out. So the two questions you might have is, when do you sell? Number one. And number two, how do you sell? They should be the two questions. Good morning. That's why I stick to trading. KB is superhuman. Exactly. Singing is not as important. Very true. I do agree with that. But I would, you know what? One day, when we are all super, super rich, we will have a karaoke session somewhere. Now, I don't know if you remember this, but I did my Diplodocus, okay? And that is my Diplodocus. There's its head, okay? There's its little tail, right? That's my Diplodocus. So it wasn't a dip, it was a Diplodocus, and it looks beautiful on my chart. Now, I don't know if you remember this, but I drew this channel, and I drew it way back here. I think I might have drawn it maybe about here. I can't remember when I drew it, but I drew it last week. And miraculously, well, not quite miraculously, it's kind of held, which I think is brilliant. And what we've had is we've had higher lows on these wicks and higher highs almost. So although I was saying we need to hold this line, actually that line has come down a bit now since. That is 91.6 now. We've held this. Now, the bottom of this range right now is 93.5-ish. And the top of this range is 97.7, where we appear to have wicked 2. Now, again, it's not supposed to be 100% accurate. It's just supposed to be a kind of guide. I mean, we could do that. You know, we could tighten it up a bit, maybe, but the top of the range doesn't sit very well with any of that. So we're just going to have to keep it like that, and it can be wrong, and I don't care. It's not about correct TA, it's just about showing you a trend. So the trend, therefore, is up. The 12th of May is highlighted on here. That's the CPI date. So that is the CPI date right there, where we should see anywhere between 2 and 2.2% for inflation, and we are going to rocket. Why? Because inflation, the target for governments is 2%. You'll hear them say we want it lower than 2%. They want it at 2%. Now, if you watch Trueflation, for example, Trueflation is a non-partisan inflation tracker in America. And I've been following these people for about 3 years. When we were doing the streams and inflation was absolutely raging, this is what we were looking at. It's called Trueflation. It's free. We're not sponsored by them. I don't know why they would sponsor us, but we're not sponsored by them. We just use them. Now, this shows you the inflation rate in the United States, and it is coming in at 1.5%. In fact, 2%, can't draw lines on this chart, it fell below 2% on, God, I can't read that, February the 20th this year. So we've been below 2%. Now, the other danger, if you let inflation go too low, the GDP stops going up. So you're actually stunting growth at the same time as you're stunting inflation. So inflation goes to 0. It's okay to do that for a day or two. If it goes to 0 and minus 0.1, minus 0.5, that's not great for an economy. I think it's called stagflation. Is it? Or is stagflation if it doesn't go above 1%? I can't remember exactly now. But the point of the matter is, you can go back. Typical. You can go back over. You used to be able to go back over a long period of time, but you will see that's the 6-month inflation. Trump came in here. Okay, Trump came in here, and inflation has gone through the floor. Why has inflation gone through the floor? Because he did what he said he was going to do, and I told you what he was going to do, and that is very simple. He cuts the price of energy. And I don't care what your government tells you, the cost of energy impacts absolutely everything in your country. Electricity and petrol or gas or diesel, whatever it is, the distribution of goods is done via what? Trains, planes, and automobiles. If the cost of gas going into them drops, which it has done, it will be cheaper to transport goods, which means the products will cost less. Or it will stop costing more and more. If you cut the price of electricity, then the cost to produce those goods also falls. And that goes for goods being transported into your country from another country. So it was obvious to everybody who had a brain that cutting gas costs, cutting electricity, cutting diesel costs was going to have this effect on the economy. Now, 1.58% is enough for me, for Powell to cut. But I don't believe he is going to do it for a while until he is absolutely safe and sound in doing it. Now, we're going to move on because I have spent... What time is that? Please don't tell me that is 20 to 12. We've spent 40 minutes talking about Trump and economics. We're supposed to be talking about crypto. Right, I'm going to very quickly tell you this one, and then we're going to move on to some actual crypto news. So basically, New Hampshire becomes the first state to sign the Bitcoin Reserve Bill into law. There are, 49 states? 50 states. I don't know how many states there are in America, 49 or 50, something like that. They're the first one. We've got 49 to go. I think this is the 50 because wasn't somebody saying Britain should become the 51st state or something like that? So anyway, there you go. New Hampshire. That man, beautiful beard. That man, not so good a beard. That lady has no beard. Luckily, that lady has no beard. Although this day and age, you don't know. Maybe she shaves. Oh, he shaves. But anyway, they've signed the bill, and it's in a nice pink envelope. There you go, some signatures, which I think if you zoomed in, you could probably photocopy and use. So it's never a good idea to really do that kind of stuff. Anyway, that was good. What does that mean? That means that New Hampshire will allocate a percentage of their treasury to Bitcoin. Great stuff. Now then, this is the biggest damp squid, or not damp squid. This is the biggest nonsense you will see or have seen, and that is this: that Kronos ETP has gone live. I don't know why it's mentioning this, because it's not in America. So 21 shares debuts Kronos ETP in the US amid altcoin fund frenzy. It's in Amsterdam and Paris. So it's fun tracking the price of Kronos to US investors, unless I've misread this. But ETPs are generally in Europe, and they're generally in Paris and in Amsterdam. And then the UK has its own different version of these called notes. Are they called ETNs in the UK? ETPs in Europe? ETFs? Well, actually, ETPs can be anywhere, but the majority of the ones that use them are in Europe. So, is it a precursor, maybe, to an ETF for Kronos in America? Absolutely, because 21 shares have had an ETP for Dogecoin in Europe for a while. I don't think it's got that much money in it. $1.5 million, something like that. But they're now going to apply for an ETF in America. So I think this could be a precursor. We don't really care about any of this nonsense. But again, I don't know why it's mentioning America. Because it's Amsterdam and it's Paris. So I don't know why it's talking about this. But anyway, is this good news for Kronos? Yes and no. I think it's good news in terms of they're on the right path to being an ETF in America. I think that's the way to look at it. Is this going to move the price of Crow? Absolutely not. This is not going to move Crow 1 cent, in my opinion, because the volume coming into Kronos or Crow via this ETP is minimal. It's just a nothing burger. But as I said, it's a precursor to maybe bigger and better things. And the goal really is to have your project in an ETF so it becomes a part of a bigger fund of ETFs. That's the goal. So you will see BlackRock AI crypto ETF that will have FET, NEAR, Render, Turbo, whatever it might be, in the fund. And then passively, those tokens will be bought up by those ETFs. You want the same thing. Maybe you could see a future where you have an exchange ETF, where you have BNB, you have Crow, you have OK, whatever that token's called that OKX have got. You might have a GT token, for example. So again, we're early. We can't expect everything in one go, but that's a nothing burger. And people on the internet saying it's so bullish for Crow, so bullish for crypto.com, it isn't going to move the price. Good morning, Tariq. So no more Crow in the near future. I think Crow will do well, but I don't think that ETF is going to move the price. That's what I'm saying. So I think Crow, it has a future to run up. It's not going to go to $2 or $3. Whatever anybody tells you, it's going to go. It'll be lucky if it goes to $1, in my opinion. 60 cents to $1 is, I think, where I've got it. And listen, if it goes to 60 cents and you've been buying it at 5 and 6 cents, you've got a 10x. If you're buying it today at 9 or 10 cents, it could do a 6x. Now, I want to be wrong. Believe you me, I want to be wrong. I have hundreds of thousands of Crow. I would love it to go to $1 or $2 because I would smoke cigars every morning on the stream. Of course I would. But just be aware that some things are not necessarily all they're made out to be. We've seen it before with other tokens that have gone live on other platforms. Look at the Australian ETF for Bitcoin. Well, how many has it got now? 100. I mean, we're talking about volume. We're talking about America. We're not talking about Amsterdam or Paris or even London. The only place is America. That's it. It doesn't matter what anybody says. 66% or 60% of the global economy goes through America. That's it. If you want to talk about foreign exchange, then maybe London. But really, it's America. And all of these things are great. But come on, let's not make no bones about it. It's like, you know, when you see the Irish or the Canadian Prime Minister talking about how they're going to stand up to America. Give it a break. You've got 5 million people in your country, in the case of Ireland. Or in the case of Canada, you've got more trees than people. And you've got the highest carbon tax in the world, even though you've got more trees than people. You're a nonsense compared to America. And I'm not American, and I'm not super pro-American, but I can see reality in front of my eyes. And the reality is, you're talking the wrong way. And you're talking the wrong way because of woke politics, in my opinion. I've got to head out for the day. Have a good one. Thanks, Mike. It's all right, KB. Have a good one as well. Right. Ethereum's Spectre upgrade arrives today. We talk a lot about Vitalik on here. One thing he's good at is tech. Can't deny that. He's very, very good at tech. He knows exactly what he's talking about. You know what I'm seeing on the adverts that are on these streams? I'm seeing an awful lot of GTA 6 adverts. Are they going to advertise GTA 6 on YouTube for a year? Spectre is scheduled at block 364032 on May the 7th. It will bring smart wallets, sponsored gas, more efficient validator deposits, and other upgrades to make it more usable. Now, the biggest takeaway from all of this, in my opinion, is this is massive news. I think this is brilliant. Okay? I think this is brilliant news for Ethereum. And the next set of changes are going to be brilliant news for Ethereum. Okay? I am very bullish on Ethereum. But it's Vitalik said it himself a few days ago, and he said, why is it harder to build on Ethereum than it is to build on Bitcoin? And I think with that mentality, he has the right direction for Ethereum. Make it easier to build on Ethereum. And if he can do this and pull it off, they are still in a dominant position. And I think we need to not worry too much about Ethereum. I think Ethereum is going to go great guns. Now then, we're going to move on and talk a little bit about Solana. By the way, Tariq, congratulations. Litecoin is up 15% today. Probably going to break $100 in the next few weeks if all goes to plan. Maybe it breaks it today or tomorrow. I have a funny feeling that people dumped the price yesterday to then buy up more Litecoin. So if you're holding tight, hold tight. Same with Crow. If you're holding Crow, I haven't sold Crow. I'm keeping my Crow. I could have sold it, but I haven't because it makes up a percentage of my portfolio. Not a massive percentage of my portfolio, but a percentage of my portfolio. I'm not going to sell it. I believe in the project. I believe in Ethereum. I believe in Solana. You can believe in more than one coin. It's not like a football team. You know, you support Liverpool, you support Liverpool. You don't support Liverpool, Everton and Tranmere, you support Liverpool. Crypto is not... I am not married to Solana. Tariq is not married to Litecoin. But what Litecoin going to $300 or $400 will do is allow Tariq to sell his Litecoin and take all of that money for himself. That's how it should work. The same with Solana. Trust me, if Solana hits $1,000, I've sold it. I've sold it all. I don't care what it goes to after that. It's irrelevant. And that's how you should think. If Bitcoin hits a certain price that you need it to hit, let's say $150,000. Let's say you own 10 Bitcoin and we go to $150,000 and that will give you $1.5 million, which will set you up for the rest of your life. And you sell it and you're set up for the rest of your life. What difference does it make what price Bitcoin goes to in the future. It shouldn't. The point of this is to create financial freedom, which is the biggest cliche in crypto, because people never want you to sell. Well, you can't have financial freedom unless you've got fiat, unless you own your house. So that's what another one of the videos about DCA is. You need to have a target. And if your target is wrong, what's your target based on? It should be based on your personal circumstances, not a fictitious number. $800,000 wherever you live could set you up for life. So what does it matter? Can you sell what you own today for $800,000 if all the coins go to where we think they're going to go to in this bull run? Let's say your portfolio from today is going to 5x. Will that give you enough money to be financially free, or pay off your mortgage, or pay for your school fees, pay off your car loan? If it can, then isn't that the goal? Are you going to hold Bitcoin to the grave? Because what's the point? Solana price prediction, cancel rally as pump.fund tops Ethereum in annual fees. Solana may drop to $112. It could also hit $200 to $300, buoyed by the Solana ecosystem. Again, I love these. It could go down, it could go up. Anyone could say that. You could ask a weather person, what's the weather going to be like in 3 months' time? It could be hot, it could be cold. What? If we have a black swan, we're going below $100. If we have a white swan, we're going to $300. Anyone can say that nonsense. We're at $150 roughly for Solana. It's a good price. If we want to go to $600 to $800 to $1,000, $150 from where we are now is pretty good. I'd like it to be over $200, of course I would, but I think it's a good price for us to be at right now. I think the market cap is low enough on Solana to give it a pump. The market cap of Solana, by the way, is a lot less than the market cap of XRP, and I'm talking about XRP going to $5 to $6, and that's only a 2.5x. You work it back to Solana, I think that's about 5x. So I think from this moment in time, we're looking at $750, thereabouts, by the end of the bull run. Am I going to be wrong? Probably, but it's a target. And as I said, if I get to $1,000 on Solana, everything I own in Solana will be sold. Okay? Why? Because long term, the price will go higher, but short term, the price will fall. We can't have a sustained market cap in crypto of $10 trillion right now. It's not large enough to sustain that amount of money. We need more people in crypto to hold the assets, because at the minute we have the early adopters like you guys who want to take profits. Right now, this is a really interesting chart. I was looking at this last night. We're going to talk about syrup in a minute, Tariq, because I want to give my appreciation about syrup in a minute. But I want to show you this chart because this is really nice. I haven't been doing too many charts recently, simply because I didn't think for a while that the prices were really there to show you the charts. Now, there's a lot of this kind of stuff going on, which you can't see just yet. Okay, so there's lots of this downward action. And then what did we do? We found all of this support. You know, when I tell you that when a coin does this, it's more than likely going to do this. And the reason is there is no support. There is no history with that coin. Now, look at what Solana did. Okay, this was from February to September last year, and look at that level we bounced off. Now, when times are tough, what happens? It goes home. Okay, you've lost your job, you've lost your husband or your wife, you go home and you live with your parents. That's what Solana did. It went home and it lived with its parents, and it told us it was going home because it showed us it was going home, and it came home, and now it's going out again, but it's a bit scared. It's a bit scared of going out back on the town. It's a bit scared of dating. Okay, it wants to meet Tariq wants to meet Kishan, wants to marry and have kids, but it's scared. So even though it's come back and it's broken out, look at where it is. It's sitting below the bull market support band. So rather than looking down right now, which is where everybody's telling you, we can probably look towards $158. But where do we always say these coins go to? The psychological numbers in your head. And that would be there, which is 150. It's a psychological barrier. Now, the charts will tell you all kinds of things. The RSI is overcooked, the RSI is cooled down, this blah, 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 blah. But people are based on patterns. And those patterns are the easiest things in the world to follow. 200. Okay, we can go along and we can find 200. We never reached it there, or we never reached it there. But 200 for Solana, 150 for Solana, 100 for Solana. It sounds like such a cop-out because anyone could say that. You could say, oh, I could say that. Well, of course you can. But the charts are telling you, look, 150. I was supposed to draw a line then. I just shook the screen like there was an earthquake. 150. We're sitting just below it. Now, what we need to do is break 150 and get back above 169. That's where we need to go. And what we need to do is we need to do that and move up. That's what we need to do. And it could happen today. It could happen on Friday. It could happen on May the 12th. Another line to put in the chart, which we'll put for a future date. So that, oh, it's 13th, sorry, not the 12th. The 13th. I keep saying the 12th. The 12th is next Monday. Next Tuesday is CPI. Now, that line will be left there. And depending on the CPI, we're going to do that, or we're going to do that. Because the CPI is the most important number in the history of crypto. Because if it's 2 to 2.2, we are off to the races. If it is 2.4, 2.5, we are going to absolutely struggle. Now then, we're going to talk about, let me just very quickly. It will cross 350, I think. So, yeah, it's a good shout. 350 is a good shout. It all depends on the global factors. We could easily see a $500, $600, $800, $1,000 Solana. Easily see it. But that is not why we are here right now. So, we're going to go through this, and then I'm going to give you a little bit of a chat about Maple before we get on to Sui. Binance lists Maple and Camino Finance tokens for spot trading. Binance will list Maple Finance's token Syrup opening on the 6th of May, which was yesterday. It announced it will list it from May the 6th with the pairs against USDC, USDT. Both tokens will carry a seed tag denoting early stage project volatility. Now, the market reaction has been noticeable. The price went up 22%. CZ's predicted the 500 to a million. We don't want to talk about that. We don't want to talk about any more of this. I want to talk to you about Syrup. So that's basically to let you know, Syrup is listed on Binance. Now, let me very quickly take you to TradingView for 1 minute, and then I'm going to give you my little chat about Syrup very quickly. Because what I think is important here is to explain why we worked with Maple Finance and why we worked with them from, I think we've been with them now about 4 months, something like 4 months. Now let's bring up a chart that's actually got some trading action on it. I didn't think it was on KuCoin. I can't find the Binance chart isn't here yet. Okay, now this is important for everybody out there that thinks they've missed Syrup. You haven't missed Syrup. Oh, look at that. This is the chart I've been using in the past. So, we're at 23.5 cents. I bought Syrup at 14 cents. Then I bought it at 12 cents. Now, I don't have insider information, so it's not like I sat there and knew that we're going to be listed on Binance or knew that we're going to be listed on another exchange, which happened in April. I didn't know that. But the reason I like Syrup is that the team survived the FTX crash 3 years ago. 2.5 years ago, it survived the FTX crash. And their TVL was down at $50 million. And they didn't give up. They didn't give up. They stood by their token. And I'm going to get rid of all of this for a minute. I need to reset my browser. It's been lagging. Give me 1 second to close this down. And then I should be less laggy now. I should be less laggy. Okay. So, this is going to be the last article of the day. I won't do the Sue one because we're going to run out of time. And I'm going to run out of time to tell you about what's going on the channel as well. So we'll have to just do all of that on Friday. So Syrup is the native token of the Maple system. The Maple system is more than one project. It has a 5% native 5% Bitcoin yield product. It has over collateralized loans that you can lend against. That's very, very high risk and not something I'd recommend to people watching. But it also has another token called Syrup USDC. And that is a stablecoin, fully collateralized stablecoin backed by cash, which pays about 10.5%. So it's not one product. It's not one thing. It's an accumulation of different related products. And we are, and I've never once said this about the tokens that we work with. I've never said it about Mew. I've never said it about WolfSwap. Never said it about Syrup, but I think I should. We are honored to be working with Mew. We are honored to be working with WolfSwap, and we are honored to be working with Maple Finance. We could have 10 ambassador roles. We could be with everybody under the sun, promoting every other project under the sun like everybody else does, and then just be like everybody else. But that is not how we work. We try our hardest to partner with people who we think are doing the right thing in the right way. And that's WolfSwap, and that's Mew, and that is Maple Finance. We know the founders of Maple Finance, we know the founders of WolfSwap, and we know the people behind the team at Mew. And we were lucky to work with Mew. We were lucky to work with WolfSwap, and we were lucky to work with Maple Finance. But as I always say on this channel, you make your own luck. And being out there and being responsible with what we do opens the doors with people like Maple Finance and with Mew and with WolfSwap. Now, being with a project that's now listed on Binance and most of the other major exchanges, the market cap of that token is going to go up. And we are an ambassador of Maple Finance. So as far as we're concerned, it looks great for us. The same way streaming on Binance looks great for us in other people's eyes. So from that point of view, we are massively grateful to work with them. From the point of view of your point of view and thinking I've missed out because Mike bought it at 12 cents and Mike bought it at 14 cents. All I would say to you is my price target for the token is a lot higher than it is now. My price target for the token, which you'll probably do in another video with the Oracle, is upwards of 60 cents to $1. So getting it at 23 or 24 cents, I wouldn't advise buying it today because it's likely to see out the Binance pump and come back down. Now, full disclosure, and you guys know, I will always disclose everything to you. We sold a bag of syrup yesterday, and we made 100% profit on that bag that we've been holding for a couple of weeks. We sold it. It's now sitting in USDC. If the price of syrup comes down to 18 or 19 cents, maybe 17 cents, we'll see, then we're going to buy it back again. We haven't lost faith in the token, but when this type of news comes out, we sell to take the profit and then sit on the profit and wait for the token to retrace and then buy back in. But I made a video about the price targets for syrup weeks and weeks and weeks ago. And I gave you the price targets of 18 cents. If it breaks 18 cents, it's going to go to 21 cents. If it breaks 21 cents, it's going to go to 26 cents. It did all of those things. Everything down to the line. It did every one of them. So don't think you've missed out. But also, don't buy into every token that gets listed straight away. If you got in yesterday at 21 cents, you're up. Brilliant. If you got in yesterday at 26 cents, 28 cents, then you're down 10% on the token price, okay? But it's not a token to flip for a quick profit at this moment in time. If you bought it at 10 cents, then clearly you would have taken some profits at 24 cents. So for Tariq, who thinks that he's missed it, or maybe Tariq got in as well, but let's say Tariq missed it. If the price comes below 20 cents, I'd look at buying it again. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to buy back in. We didn't sell it to sell. We sold it to wait for the price to come down, because then we'll get more syrup. That's the point. We sold it to get more syrup. We didn't sell it to get rid of the syrup. That's the difference. Now, that's the end of the show. It's 12:05. You all are legends. Thank you all for tuning in. I am not back tomorrow. Tomorrow is Thursday. I'm not back tomorrow. I'll be back on Friday. Hopefully, with the Oracle. Tariq got in at 13 cents. Legend. Legend. So you're up at nearly 100%, which is brilliant. I'm glad. I'm glad it works out for people. It's the same with people that have held Moon. If you bought Moon over the first few months of us talking about Moon, you would now be up 150% on Moon. Anyway, so, but listen, Tariq, I could be wrong. I could be wrong, and we could be at 30 cents in 2 weeks' time. Because if the market rips tomorrow, everything's going to rip. What I'm saying is that we had, the thing is, what you got to work out is, because we have so few ambassador roles, our income is limited in terms of what we bring in. So when we make a big profit, we have to take it, because it pays for the cameras and the equipment. We have to take it. We are not in a situation like you guys where you have jobs and you have excess cash. This is our living. So when we make hundreds of dollars profit, we have to take it and lock it in. And that's the difference. If I was working, obviously wouldn't be able to do these streams, wouldn't be able to make videos, all that kind of stuff. But I'd have way more money to put into crypto and I wouldn't be selling any of it. But this is our job. So we have to take profits along the way. The only thing we've never sold is we've never sold the NFTs that we get, because we keep them and we give them away to you guys. But anyway, take care, everybody. See you on Friday. I'm going to make some videos tomorrow, but take care. I will keep buying when it dips. I think so. The thing is, it's got a $1.4 billion market cap. Ondo's got a $1 billion market cap. It's a 20th of the size of Ondo in terms of market cap. It's just crazy. Anyway, have a great weekend. No, don't have a great weekend. Have a great Wednesday. Have a great Thursday. I will see you on Friday. Take care.